Hi, everyone. Let's talk about the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Now, some people will take issue with that and say it was not a raid, but that's what I choose to call it, and I think that's probably most appropriate to call it the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Okay, I have some notes here, so if you don't mind, I'm going to read. This video is not intended to cover every detail of what happened at Mar-a-Lago or why it happened. That would take much more in-depth research and require that I reach a conclusion, which to this point, no one has reached. Some say it was for documents, while others say it was a search for anything, a witch hunt. This video is to present information that I found interesting and compelling based on the available coverage of news on both sides. I have to tell you that when I heard that Mar-a-Lago had been raided, my mind went to the scene of a movie, which it often does when something happens. And the first movie that came to my mind was...
In my home? Mike, I almost died myself. It was all so relieved.
In my home! In my bedroom where my wife sleeps?
Where my children come and play with their toys.
Boy. The scene. Well, of course, Donald Trump was not home when the raid occurred. And so, but that scene popped up in my mind. In my home. We're talking about a former president whose home was raided by the current president, Joe Biden. FBI. But under his watch. Under Joe Biden's watch. And I believe at that time when the raid occurred that Trump had not declared that he was going to run for the 2024 race yet. But potential rivals at any rate. Okay. So the raid at President Donald J. Trump's residence happened on August 8th, 2022. By all accounts, it was unprecedented. You kept hearing that word, unprecedented. And of course it was because no president in history's home had ever been raided. What does that mean? It means that in our country's 246 years of existence, never has a former president's home been raided by an agency like the FBI. Does it set precedents? Will we see other former presidents' homes raided in the future? These are questions. So why was Mar-a-Lago raided? Because it was Donald Trump? Why do I say that? Because in my lifetime, I've never seen a president so maligned and disrespected by some while at the same time being loved, honored, and respected by others. Now, I have to say that I've lived through quite a few presidents, and not all of them were liked. By no means. Some of them were really disliked. But they were all respected. Not for the man, but for the office. So something has really changed in our world. Something has changed in our society. We no longer respect the office. And that can be problematic. No, not because he did anything wrong. Because so far, no one has proven that he has. But because he has been a target for a long time. Actually, since he ran for president. Donald Trump was warned early in his political career.
Let me tell you, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So...
Are they saying? Yes, what are they saying?
Raid, the left embraced the news like it was a box of Kleenex at a sperm bank.
Tomorrow is the day when you're going to want to buy the physical copy of the newspaper. You're going to want to buy it and fold it carefully.
No one is above the law, not even a president or a former president of the United States.
This is a night where you are going to remember where you were.
He also has the lying advantage. The government's not going to lie, but Donald Trump will lie profusely.
And the fact that people, weak people, are running around going, oh, what are we going to do? They're saying ugly things on Fox News. Like, what do you expect?
So why the raid and why now? The former president left office in January 2021. The documents in question have always been available. In fact, the FBI already looked at the documents and removed some boxes for the archives in June 2022. The FBI requested that a different lock or an additional lock be placed on the door where the documents were held, and their request was complied with. I mean, they did add another lock. So why the raid? Some people really did not want to call it a raid.
Would you like to hear it?
I would like to hear a montage.
Is it a raid or not? Let's listen.
It wasn't a raid on his house. No doors were kicked down.
It's all legal. It's all lawful. It's not a raid.
And I know Donald Trump is saying that this is a raid, but that's a gross exaggeration.
We have to be careful not to adopt the term raid.
The only reason you'd have a search like this, and let's be polite and call it a search and not a raid.
Trump talks about a raid on his home. No, man, there was no raid on your home.
All right, well, what would you call it when they come with guns and rifle through every
Obviously
room
one
in
of
your
those
mansion?
bachelorette scavenger hunts, right? They were just looking one, they had a little list, and they were going through. Isn't it amazing that when we do these montages, that it's so clear that there's one script?
Yeah.
There's absolutely one script, and it comes from somewhere. I don't know where it is. Maybe it's the DNC, who knows? But it all comes down, and they all get it, and they go, okay, this is what we're going to say today. And for once, they're interested in absolute definitions after they refuse to define what a woman is, where they redefine recession, where they call black people white supremacists like Larry Elder. So they stretch the language like Brian Stelter in yoga pants, and then they come back and there's a large event in which a large group of armed people enter the house, and they go, oh, it's just a search. What's your problem?
Oh, boy. All right.
Very funny. So was it a raid? Was it a raid? The initial request for the documents apparently came from the National Archives. The National Archives received 15 boxes from Trump at Mar-a-Lago in January this year. Of course, that's January last year, containing classified national security information, according to the archivist David Furiano. Oh, can't say the name. Okay. I should note that because something was marked classified does not mean that it had not been unclassified by President Trump, which was within his authority and power as the president to do, based on the Presidential Records Act. And this is all information that I've gathered through all this time looking this up. So there was a history of cooperation between the archives and President Trump. So why the raid? It is so unprecedented that even the ex-FBI agents are making comments about it. And as you know, there have been whistleblowers and so on and so forth.
Department a warning of increased threats to law enforcement following the raid. Terry Churchy is with us. He's a former Deputy Assistant Director at the FBI. Terry, do these threats add up to domestic terrorism?
Well, they certainly have the potential to do that, Stuart. And in the report that you just had, the term, the temperature is up in the country. Anytime the temperature is up in the country, especially in response to something like the FBI raid last week, you're going to have an increased threat of terrorism. So it's only natural that from the domestic terror perspective, the report that was issued that FBI agents, FBI personnel should be more alert and pay attention to what's going on, they could become more susceptible to this. What really is troubling to me and I worked domestic terrorism all through the 90s, primarily on the front lines in the mountains of North Carolina and in the Continental Divide when we were arresting the Unabomber and all of the things that went with that. And I have to tell you that what is really mysterious to me here is we try to foresee these things ahead of time. If you're going to take a step, you need to know the consequences or all the range of consequences of that step. And I just don't think anything has come to light that would have merited what happened last week in the way that search was conducted. And so they actually asked for this. And you do not reduce the temperature in the country by this continuous display of bad decisions. And I'll give you a direct example. Inside the FBI, go ahead.
I just want to get to this. I need to get this in. Republican Congressman Mike Turner, he wants Merrick Garland to testify about this raid. Just watch this. Roll tape, please.
No one is above the law. Donald Trump is not above the law, and Attorney General Garland is not above the law either. And Congress has the powers of oversight. He needs to comply. We've seen material like this before. We've seen materials that have been submitted to courts for warrants. This is not unprecedented. His actions are unprecedented.
Do you think that the FBI actually politicized itself?
Well, yes, and I don't even think that's an arguable point anymore. Remember, they brag about the Robert Mueller transformation of the FBI. He transformed it to a national intelligence agency, and it automatically defaults to being at the beck and call of politicians. That's what that means. It used to be an investigative agency. So we do need to have these hearings, and these need to be the beginning, but we need to start cleaning up what happened to the FBI over the last 21 years. And the only way to do that is to roll up your sleeves and get started right now.
What's morale like within the FBI right now? And do we know if any FBI agents objected to being involved in the raid? Was there any internal dispute about it? Do you know?
I have no information specifically about that. I can tell you I've been bombarded with emails and calls from former FBI agents. I know they're all upset. This is not the FBI that we worked for. We'll all tell you that, almost to a person. What is going on inside the FBI now, I don't know. I don't think FBI people now even understand the difference between the, quote, new FBI and the FBI we were in. We had independence, and we voiced it. And we really were able to express our judgment about things like raids and searches and the conduct of them way before we ever engaged in something like that. And we encouraged it so that we would make sure we avoided the very kinds of things we're seeing now.
Yeah.
We don't need the temperature in America to be any higher.
Terry, since you were involved in anti-terrorism.
Okay, so it's not as though President Trump hasn't had challenges before. Number one, Russiagate hoax, which never happened, although it lasted a couple of years and cost $32 million. Robert Mueller Russian probe found nothing illegal. The Durham investigation is currently ongoing and uncovering what and who was behind the fake Russia collusion. Then he had the first impeachment, abuse of power, which was actually a phone call to the newly elected Ukrainian president, congratulating him on his being elected as the president of Ukraine. And he got into a conversation with him with regards to corruption, and some names came out of possible corruption in Ukraine, and said maybe you should look into that. And that was the impeachable offense. The second impeachment, after January 6th, for incitement of insurrection. So that's a whole different story, and we're not going to go into that here. But the outcome for both impeachments was that he was actually acquitted. So the outcome out of all of them, he's acquitted. Many people were shocked about the raid. Then they were shocked that the President of the United States, who had been very vocal on all social media, was now banned on all social media. Not only did it impact the people in the United States, but people around the world, leaders around the world, made comments and did not understand exactly what is going on when the President of the United States is banned on social media. What's interesting about the raid is that there are others who have done similar or close to similar things whose property was never raided, even when their actions may have been more egregious. Others have gotten away with more.
So why'd they go in so hard? Hillary smashed iPhones with hammers and poured acid over 30,000 emails under subpoena. The FBI never raided her house in Chappaqua. They came over and had lunch and handed out immunity deals like candy. There's a mountain of hard evidence that the Biden family was involved in a massive international pay-to-pay scheme with our biggest enemies, Russia and China. Hunter was getting bribed with diamonds. Joe's supposed to be getting kickbacks from communists. There's pictures, voicemails, banking records. But the FBI buried that to get Joe in the White House. Oh, and then there's the Pelosi family that has a better stock trading record than Warren Buffett. Let me repeat. Nancy plays the market better than Warren Buffett. And she's not being investigated for insider trading? Sandy Berger stole documents from the National Archive, stuffed it in his pants. They didn't raid his house. 2 CIA directors, John Deutsch and Dave Petraeus, were caught with documents in their homes. They didn't get raided. FBI Director James Comey took documents to his house and leaked it. They didn't raid him. Democrats can get away with murder because their families have been controlling D.C. for decades. But if you challenge them like Trump did, you're done. They'll never knock down the door of one of their own. Trump promised to drain the swamp, gets raided. The left's celebrating like this is the best sex they ever had. Watch.
This has never been done before in the history of this country. He would not have authorized it unless they believed they had significant evidence that a crime had been committed.
This is a night where you are going to remember where you were.
This is such a historic day.
If it's that kind of information, you could see why Lisa Monica and Merrick Garland would take swift and decisive action. That's all the sort of, I'd say, good news.
These are bloodthirsty savages who want to see you humiliated and violated. This is a threat to anybody who opposes them. Look what we can do to you. We can even storm into your president's home and take whatever we want, and he can't do anything about it. Even Trump's most dedicated haters aren't comfortable with this type of action. Andrew Cuomo said, DOJ must immediately explain the reason for its raid. It must be more than a search for inconsequential archives, or it will be viewed as a political tactic and undermine any future credible investigation and legitimacy of January 6th investigations. And not everybody in the media is on board with these tactics. Watch.
This, I'm hoping, goes beyond simply not complying with some archiving laws, or DOJ just handed Donald Trump the Republican nominee and potentially the presidency. If it's seen as some sort of massive overreach and not something incredibly serious, this is a very good day for Donald Trump.
To send this kind of FBI team to the former president's home, there has to be something more than just a Presidential Records Act violation.
This does step on Democrats' victory lap a little bit. As far as what Republicans are saying, they think that this is going to be very good for Republicans.
Biden's political terrorist attack against the candidate he's about to face off against shows Joe knows he can't win fair. Sending 30 men in with guns to get pieces of paper because the National Archives was complaining that getting stuff back from Mar-a-Lago was taking too long. It's like a librarian launching an FBI raid. We're raiding a president over bookkeeping. Trump's team was already working with the feds and already handed over boxes of documents this year. Just this summer, agents were in Mar-a-Lago. Trump's lawyers were showing them around. This is where this was. This is where this was. The Fed said, all right, keep it secure. The next thing you know, boom, they come back with safe crackers, telling Trump's lawyers not to watch and hauling off 10 boxes of docs. The Wall Street Journal is reporting the documents included President Obama's private letter that he left for the incoming President Trump in the drawer of the Resolute desk in the Oval, you know, a presidential tradition that goes back decades.
This was the letter given to me by President Obama. I won't show it to you, read it to you, but just a beautiful letter.
Is there a line you can share that struck you most?
There were numerous lines, so well written, so thoughtful.
Men with guns showed up for that. A personal letter between two presidents? The Wall Street Journal is also reporting one of the documents that was also seized was Trump's private correspondence with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
I was really being tough, and so was he. And we would go back and forth, and then we fell in love, okay? No, really. He wrote me beautiful letters, and they're great letters. We fell in love. But you know what? Now they'll say, Donald Trump said they fell in love. How horrible. How horrible is that?
They could have easily negotiated the return of documents like that without guns and warrants. What the FBI is probably doing is planning evidence, which is what they did during the Russia hoax. We also have a hunch they doctored evidence to get the warrant. Again, what they did during the Russia hoax. So this is a big fishing expedition, using anything they can against Trump to take him out of the race for 2024. Or just hang this dark cloud over his head like they did with the Mueller investigation. Remember, they knew for 2 years there was no crime, but they tried to frame the president for obstructing a crime he didn't commit. They crossed a very serious line.
Wow. So, what makes this raid so despicable is that Americans have a respect for the office of the president, as I said before. It is the highest elective office in the executive branch of government. There are certain expectations and traditions that were violated. And a lot of Americans are not happy with the actions taken on August 8th. August 8th? August 8th.
What do you, I mean, here's the thing. You should be angry about this, but if you get angry, then you fit into their mode. Ha ha, they're angry. What's next?
Well, yeah, there was a Boston Globe article that came out mid-afternoon that was like the right-wing anger and violence brewing, which is of course what they want.
Right.
Here's the thing that drives me the craziest about this. All these people who says we have to give the DOJ and the FBI the benefit of the doubt. Absolute. If you're going to cross this line, if you're going to raid not just a former president, but the chief political opposition, the guy who's most likely to be running against Biden in 2024, the FBI and DOJ have an obligation to come out and say, what the hell is going on? Why was this necessary? Why did they cross this line? We shouldn't be sitting here guessing like, oh, is it over documents? There's something else going on. If you're going to cross this line, you better come forward and you better make it clear there was a damn good reason to do this.
Yeah, this is not normal. It's not normal.
So, in Chris Barone's comments, he does make a very important observation in that it looks as though one of the goals for the raid is to prevent President Trump from being a presidential candidate in 2024. So it looks bad and it looks un-American for an ex-president to be raided. His home to be raided.
Exactly. Yes.
So, Tyrus, what are your thoughts on this?
I love this.
Yeah.
This is phenomenal. This would get me hyped. I'd be outside, I'm clapping like, all right, game on. Okay. you got nothing. You ain't got the bookkeeper, you got nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I'd have fun with it.
Yeah.
I got the best lawyer. You'll be FBIing in Alaska when I'm done. I'd find every cliche from every movie. We've been there. We've done this before. You had me on Russia. Remember, it was Joan of Arc Behar came on and said, we have the papers and we got them.
Yeah, we got them.
We got them. They got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, again, you've inspired. You have to look at things. I love spite. I like spite stores. I have a spite career. We're going to have a spite president. I couldn't be happier. You go into my house, you try to embarrass me.
Mm-hmm.
The man who cannot be embarrassed.
Yes.
It's so true. Well, and Trump ran for president because they said Obama made jokes about him.
One joke.
Yes.
At a party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be president.
Yeah.
So, hey,
Yeah.
you rung the bell, game on.
Mm-hmm.
He's fired up. So I'm going to sit back and just watch. There might be a spite position for me in this. I love it. So, yeah.
Well, that's my take on the raid on Mar-a-Lago. A lot of people said a lot of things. And since I gathered all of this information, we've had some other things come out. And some other people they've found classified documents in their homes as well. President Joe Biden has classified documents in his home from not only his time as vice president, but his time as senator. Now they found well, I don't know how classified it was, but documents in Mike Pence's house. So, matter of fact, they went back and I think they found classified documents in 5 different locations for Joe Biden at this point. So this has been ongoing. The raid happened, like I said before, back in August. Right now it is January 2023, and we are, everybody's prepping and getting ready for the presidential race going on next year. So that's my video and my take on the raid on Mar-a-Lago. A little bit, just to be a little bit more on the serious side. I think it was something that definitely did not have to be done. I think a lot of people saw it as overkill, too much, to gather papers. And so that's what happened. But it seems that President Trump seems to be in line for the first of a lot of different things, First president to be raided, first president to be impeached twice. And even they're going after his taxes, and they got his taxes and there was nothing to see there. So even though they were hammering for those taxes for years, once they got it, the story quickly disappeared. So that's it. The raid on Mar-a-Lago. If you have any comments, or if you liked how I put this together, please give it a thumbs up, like it, share it, subscribe, and that's it. Bye.